Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is my first ever tutorial video that I'm doing. Here is a video showing the purse that I made. I really loved the way it turned out, and the following video is going to be a how-to on how I made this. I don't include how I made the lining, but there's tons of videos on YouTube that you can watch on how to do that. It really just needs a zipper. Just a disclaimer, I'm not sure how beginner friendly this will be, but I'm happy to explain if there's any confusion. I'm happy to make another tutorial if there's anybody out there who really wants to make this but they're confused by this video. Just let me know in the comments what you think. Here you can see the purse is a perfect crossbody off the shoulder. You can adjust the length of the strap to what you want it to be. The length that I have, it works either across the body or over the shoulder, so it ended up pretty perfect for me. This is a long video, so feel free to click around and go to the parts where you need the most, or skip the parts that you don't need. And thank you for watching. Now, let's get into the tutorial. I used sports weight yarn and a 3.75 millimeter hook and a tapestry needle. Here's what the granny square will look like, but you can use any granny square for this tutorial. I will link below the tutorial that I followed. I'm gonna do a short video on a little bit of the things that I did differently. You're gonna wanna start making a magic ring. Those can be tricky. There's a lot of good videos that explain that better than I could, but this is just basically how you do it. Now we're gonna do a chain 4, which is the height of a treble crochet. It looks like I did a chain 3, but I did a chain 1 right after I finished my magic circle. Next, we're gonna do 3 double crochets. So yarn over, go into the center, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through another 2 loops. And that's just a double crochet. And then you're going to do 2 more of those. Now we're going to do a treble crochet, which is yarning over twice, then go through the center, pull up a loop, go through 2 loops, go through another 2 loops, and then go through the last 2 loops. Now you're going to do 3 double crochet. That's 1, 2, and 3. Now you're going to do a treble crochet. This represents one of the corners of the square. Now you're going to do 3 more double crochet. The 3 double crochet represent the sides of the square. And here's the treble crochet, which is the last one of this round, because we started off with the chain 4, which was the first corner. And now you're going to do 3 double crochet. And then you're going to pull on that string to close up the hole. And now you need to find the 4th chain, or somewhere close to the 4th chain, from that original chain and do a slip stitch. But if you want to change colors, I'll demonstrate how you do that. Before finishing the slip stitch, attach the new yarn around the hook, and instead of pulling through with that other color, you pull through with the new color. That's basically how you change colors in general. You just, before finishing it, you pull through with the new one. And then you weave in the ends later down the line. Now you chain 4 again, which represents the corner. But this time, you're going to do 2 double crochet into this same stitch where the chain is in. Because whenever you do a corner, you have to add like stitches into the corner so that it will lay flat instead of like curling in, which I did not know until doing this project. So there's 1 double crochet into that same stitch, and here's the second one. And now you're going to do 3 double crochet. Basically, do double crochets until you get to the corner. And then in each corner, you do 2 double crochet, a treble crochet, and then 2 more double crochet. So here I just did those 3 double crochet into the side. And when I come to this corner here, I'm going to do 2 double crochet. Here's 1. 2. And then the treble crochet, which again you're yarning over twice. Just think treble is like you have to go through 3 sets of loops, whereas double you go through 2 sets of loops. And finishing off the second double crochet into that corner. And now here is one side done. You basically just repeat that for each side. And then here's what it should look like when you're reaching that last side. So I'm going to do 3 more double crochet. That's the third one I did. But since I'm using a sports weight, I ended up doing a double crochet into that gap right there. And then I did another double crochet into the gap that you're about to see right there. The original tutorial, I think, just showed to do it into the gap that I'm doing it into right here, but that left a little bit of a gap at the end for me since my yarn is so thin. So that's just one thing I did a little bit differently for mine to make it work for my yarn. But if you want a really great tutorial to follow, hers is like a perfect tutorial on this. And it'll be linked below. And then you're going to go into the 4th chain, or somewhere around there. I feel like it doesn't really matter that much if you go into the 3rd or 4th. You just want to try and aim for the 4th. And I'm going to change colors here. So again, before pulling through on your slip stitch, you change yarn and pull through with the new color. So now you're going to chain 4 again, which again represents the treble crochet. 4 chains is the height of a treble crochet, 3 chains is the height of a double crochet, I'm pretty sure. And then again, you're going to do 2 double crochet into that same stitch. That's 1 double crochet, and then 2. This round, you're going to do 7 double crochets to represent the sides. Each round, you're adding 4 double crochets to the side to account for like the double crochets that are added to the corners. Or you can just think of it as like you're just doing double crochets until you reach the corner where you add the 2 double crochet, 1 treble, and 2 double crochet. And that's what the squares should look like when you get to the end. Now I'm joining the 2 squares on each corner, going through the back loops only. These 2 I'm joining with a slip stitch here, which is just pull through and then you just pull through again. Well, a slip stitch you just pull through like once. Just the simplest thing you could do. But then the rest, I'm going to go into the back loop only and do a single crochet. There I'm finding that back loop. And then the second back loop. And for a single crochet, you just pull through your yarn through the loops and then pull through both loops that are on the hook. So again, back loops only. Pull through your yarn, yarn over, pull through both loops. And doing back loop only creates a thinner stitch by the end of it. It's a less bulky stitch, I feel like. So here I'm just going to demonstrate. Feel free to skip through wherever you want in the video. depending on like how much you need instruction. Here's basically what it should be looking like. I ended up not loving the way that it looked on this side, so I ended up making that the wrong side, but you can do whichever way you want. So now I'm reaching this corner again, and I'm going through the back loops only, which you can see I'm struggling here. And now here, after you do that last one into the corner, you pull the granny squares apart, or just make them flat. You can't pull them apart now, but now you can see like how it should look at the end. I was trying to remember like which one. I don't even remember if I did the same thing for both, because slip stitch and single crochet look so similar. But now you find both loops from that corner and do a single crochet. And then another single crochet, which is going to represent the corner here. I don't know if this is necessary, but I did it, and I think my purse turned out good. I'm going to mark each corner stitch to help me like remember where the corners are, because now basically you're just doing slip stitches into each stitch until you reach the corner. Because for each corner, you have to do 3 single crochets. It's basically, because if you don't do that, then it will curl up on the sides because there won't be enough fabric for the square to lay flat. I didn't know that at first, and I had to like redo it before looking into it and realizing what the problem is. So here you can see I'm trying to find that middle treble crochet, which is just the highest, the tallest one, and then I'm marking that off so that it's like I don't have to count or anything, and I can easily, like once I reach that point, know that I have to do 3 single crochets instead of just 1. And here's another corner where I'm also going to mark off. I basically did it for each, and you can see like where the double crochets versus treble crochets are. It might be a little bit harder if you're a beginner, so if you are, you could mark it off like each round, but that takes a little bit more time. And if you're off by 1, it probably won't matter that much either. Like, I'm very much like, I might seem like a perfectionist at times, but like, I'm very much like, if it looks okay, it looks okay. Like, it doesn't, if you miss a stitch, I'm not gonna go back and redo a ton of work for something that doesn't really matter that much. And here's like where you can see I've made all the marks. And again, like putting 3 into each corner. here I'm reaching my first corner, and I'll just show you in case it's like confusing. I feel like it's pretty straightforward, but I don't know, things are confusing when you're a beginner. So there's one single crochet, and then into that same stitch I'm doing a second single crochet, and that is going to be the one in the middle that I'm going to mark off, so that's just easier for me in the future, because I do not like having to count stitches, and that's just so annoying. Like, I don't even want to have to think about it. I just want to leave a marker and know where I need to be. So now just single crochet into each side. It's pretty simple. You just do it for as many rows as you want, and I will show when I get back around to the start of this row, because that was something that was confusing to me too, when you like how you start a row and end a row. So here I'm reaching that middle again, and I just wanted to show it in case that gets strange or confusing. So I'm going to find both loops. And single crochet into that. And then I'm going to single crochet again into that loop, or that stitch. And then I'm going to find the other corner, which that's not going to be a corner like in the next round, but I'm going to do 2 single crochets into this also. Now again, I don't know if this is completely necessary, but it worked for mine, so. And now you're gonna again just single crochet into each stitch for the sides, and then 3 single crochet into each corner. Okay, so now when you get back to the start, into that last like corner, you're gonna do 2 more single crochets into both loops. And then where I have this stitch marker here is the first stitch from that last row. So you're gonna go into that stitch, and then you're gonna pull through, and then pull through again, doing a slip stitch. And then you're gonna chain 1, and then go into that same stitch and do a single crochet. And you might want to mark off the slip stitch so that you know not to go into that one. Because when you get back to this point after finishing this round, you only go into the stitch where this stitch marker is. You don't go into the slip stitch or the chain 1. That was something that confused me for a while, but I think I finally understand. So then you're basically now going to just do single crochets into the sides, 3 single crochets into the corner, basically as many times as you want, as many rounds as you want. I end up changing colors at some point, but you can change colors or not change colors whenever it is that you want. You can kind of see here, I'm like pointing at where like I made a mistake previously, and I'll show like what happens when you don't do it in this way. See, on this one, it's just, there's like a gap there. Like there's a bump there because I wasn't starting and I guess ending the rounds correctly. That's why like you always want to do you skip the slip stitch and chain 1, and you only work into that where the stitch marker is. You can see I'm about to do it here. And it can help to also mark off the slip stitch, but I didn't feel the need to do that. So see how it like goes up a level, like, and then you see that's the stitch I go into. I skip the slip stitch, skip the chain 1, and go into here. And then you do the same thing as you did last time, where you do a slip stitch to join, then chain 1, and then go into that same stitch and you do a single crochet. It's probably painful to watch me struggle like this, but that's crocheting for you. So then here I mark off that single crochet. This again is to remember that's the stitch I go into when I come back around to this point. So after doing that round, you're gonna get back to the end, and I'm gonna show here again how I do it, just in case it's confusing. If this is repetitive for people who know what they're doing, then just feel free to skip around. I will also do a written pattern either in the comments or in the description. Here even you can see I'm contemplating exactly what I'm supposed to do. Trying to avoid that slip stitch. Because a lot of times it looks exactly the same as a single crochet. I feel like people make it sound like it's so obvious, but it's not. And here in this row, I'm also going to be changing colors. So this is the last single crochet in the row, and before finishing it, I pull through the new color through the last 2 loops. It can be confusing when to add the new color, but basically like before finishing the last stitch, you do the new color. You add, like you pull through the new color instead of pulling through the old color. So then here you can see I'm going into the first stitch of the last round or row and doing a slip stitch to join. And then chaining 1 and doing a single crochet into that same stitch that you did the slip stitch into. It's like the same kind of concept you do whenever you are ending and starting a row. And then mark that off because I feel like to me it's way easier to remember. You don't have to think about it or second guess too much. So now you're coming to the end. Here's another example of how to do that if like it's still confusing. Now I'm gonna go into that, where the stitch marker was, I'm gonna go into that, skipping the slip stitch and skipping the chain 1 and going into that first stitch of the last row. I think I have pretty tight tension, as you can see here. I don't know how, like, even though I have tension rings, it's tough sometimes. Especially with, like, I feel like thinner yarn. It's harder to have, like, the right tension. So here, actually, I just finished off. You can keep adding more rows if that's what you want, or you can finish off there. Here's where I decided to finish. I did 3 rows of white, 1 row of tan. It does stick up a little bit, but I think it's just because of the stitch in the middle. Okay, so now we're gonna be starting the strap. So you're gonna do a slip knot. And here I'm just demonstrating how. I feel like I don't really know how to explain that. There's like, you can replay this, slow it down. I always do that when I'm watching tutorials. I like slow the speed down. You're basically gonna just chain as long as you want the strap to be, keeping in mind that it also has to be able to fit around the purse. And when I do a chain, I like to do a hook that's a size bigger because the chain tends to be tighter. But also, if I was gonna redo this purse, I would only keep the strap one color because I switched colors and I feel like that created a little bit of like, it made it a little bit less aesthetically pleasing in certain parts, like, I like the way it looks, but if you're a perfectionist, it's going to be a little bit, it's not going to be exactly perfect because of how I do the strap. So to keep it easier, I would probably just do one color in the future, unless you're not a perfectionist about it and you just want to have like fun colors. But yeah, so I did the chain for as long as I wanted, just kind of like estimating, because I'm not about to count like 100 and like try to make sure it's like this perfect number. Like, I'm not about to do that when it doesn't really matter. And then here at the end, you can see I am switching colors if that is what you want to do. It won't create like a real problem, just it might be a little bit less aesthetically pleasing. I'm not sure. It depends on how much of a perfectionist you are. So when you finish that row and you have as many chains as you want, you chain one, and then you like pull through your new color and you go into the chain. Like, you skip one and then go into the one next to it. So it's like the same kind of like, it's a similar idea to what I was explaining before. It's probably better to just watch instead of me trying to explain it, because like, it's confusing, especially when you're like doing a new color. But I'll probably show it again once I get to the end of each round. So if it's like still confusing, just keep watching and you can see more examples of how I do it. So here you can see I got to the end in the white row, and this is basically what I'm doing. You go into that, pull through both loops, and then chain one, and then turn your work. And then you're gonna skip that first one and you're gonna go into the stitch next to it. I feel like no matter what, these things can be kind of confusing when you're a beginner. I feel like it's basically like you're chaining however much height you need to make So if you're doing a single crochet row, you chain 1. If you're doing a double crochet, you chain 3. And if you're doing treble, you chain 4. I think those are the correct numbers. And then since you added your height, and it's basically the equivalent of a single crochet, you skip the single crochet next to it, because if you don't, you're going to be adding a single crochet like each round, basically. So that's why you have to skip one. It would create too much like bulk, and then like you're going to have a weird bend in it. I was doing that wrong for like so long, I think, until I actually did this project, and you can see like how like lined up it is. And I would recommend like anybody like try like your own project, and you're gonna like understand so much more of like how to crochet. And see, I'm coming to the end of this row here. I think that for this one I switched to the tan color, so you can see like another example of how to do that. Here again, I'm struggling. The struggle is real with crochet. So now I'm going into that one of the final row. You can even do a stitch marker so that it's like you know exactly the stitch to go into. This probably is not going to be beginner friendly. Like, I feel like I'm probably not the best at explaining these things. But before pulling through, see, I almost like forgot. Before pulling through, get away with the current color, cut that off. Before finishing, you switch to the new color. Like before finishing that final single crochet, before pulling through both loops with the old color, you pull through with the new color that you want. And then you chain 1. Turn your work. And then skip 1 stitch and work into the one next to it. And then just single crochet into each one until you reach the end of that row. And now I'm reaching the end of that row, and here I'm gonna switch to white at the end, so you can watch if you still are a little bit confused. Or if you just need a reminder. I feel like I need so many reminders of how to do stuff, even though I've done it so many times with crocheting. Oh, and great, it's out of focus. Okay, there we go. So you go into that final stitch, and it's like you're starting a single crochet and pulling it through. You're pulling it through that stitch, but before you pull through both of the loops, you pull through with the new color. So then now you chain one, turn your work, and single crochet, skipping one, single crochet into the next one. Because that chain one is going to fill in that gap. And if you single crochet into both, there's going to be too much bulk, and it's going to be like a weird thing, and you're going to have too many single crochets going on. Basically, you're just going to single crochet for the rest of this, repeating the same thing that I've shown already. For mine, I ended up doing this row of white, and then another row of white, and then a row of tan, the tan yarn. You can do it for whichever colors you want. You'll kind of see, like, when I show the end of it, what I mean when it's like, it's not exactly perfect. Like, you can see the chain is a thinner row than the single crochet row. So if you're a perfectionist about that, I would just keep it like the same color, or work into both like sides of the chain, if that makes sense. I just really didn't want to do that. If you worked into both sides of the chain, that chain would just be like in the middle, and then you'd work on like each side adding a row. But to me, that's like more work than it's worth, honestly. And then here I am about to join the two ends of the strap. Now this also is another reason why I would maybe like keep it the same color, because I didn't really like how obvious this seam ended up being at the end. And maybe there's a better way to do it, and I just don't know. It doesn't bother me too much, but like if you're a perfectionist, it's like it annoys me. So if you're even more of a perfectionist, it's probably gonna annoy you. I did a single crochet to join these two. Now normally you would do it like on the part where it's like the obvious seam you would put on the inside, but I didn't really like the way that looked either. But if it was all the same color, then it wouldn't be obvious. But for this, because it's white and tan, and the seam is in tan, it's like very obvious. Basically, I'm just joining with like a single crochet. And maybe it would have even been better to just do back loop only, but I wanted it to be sturdy, so that mattered more to me than like the aesthetics. You probably know how to do like a single crochet by now. You just line up the two ends, and then for me, whatever like gap there is, like an obvious gap, maybe for like how many rows there are, you just do a single crochet joining the two rows. So there, you just find the gaps and then join. here is at the end, and you can see it's like it's very obvious. You could flip it over to the other side, but there's still like some obvious seams. It just depends on like your preference. You could even try like a different way of doing it, like a different stitch that might be less obvious. But that's just an example of why I would rather just do it in one color. But I do like the two colors of the strap too. So it's just up to personal preference. And then here I'm trying to find that middle, the middle of like the granny squares where that like obvious line is. And you also want to make sure that you're like keeping like in mind the way that you want the panels to face out. I ended up liking the way that the panel is to the front facing camera. I ended up liking that more than the other side. So I actually ended up like, if you like the way that this looks here, this is the sides that are going to face out. Like when you actually wear the bag, you can pick like at the end, and you'll see more later down the line. Like if you want the seam to be on the inside, then you would flip it around to where I have it now. I'm just joining with like single crochets. And if it's confusing with like which side to put where, like it is confusing, I've still messed that up, like, oh, wrong sides facing, like it's basically just try and like copy the way that I'm doing it here. If you like the way that mine looks, just copy the way that it's facing here. If you don't like that seam facing this way, facing out, then just flip the strap around and do it the other way. And then here you're reaching the end of this like little section right here. Here's what it should look like. And again, you're kind of like keeping in mind like which sides you want to be facing outside, which you want to be facing on the inside. You still have time to like figure that out completely. So when I reached the end here, I ended up cutting my yarn. And then I'm gonna go back to like where that seam was, and I'm gonna go and complete that other side. It's basically just the same thing as before, like you're just joining with a single crochet. Just trying to line it up like as best you can. But that doesn't matter too much now because it's like already lined up. My seam ended up being like a little bit off. So that's like if I was gonna do it again, I would again like, I don't know. I would do that a little bit differently. Like either having the strap be the same color or putting the strap the other way around and having that seam on the inside so that it's not as obvious. Here you can see like the difference in each side. If I get into the lens, yeah, you can see like I didn't really love the way either side looked, and originally I was planning to put the panels the other way, but I ended up actually liking this way more, where like the seam is on the inside. Normally I think a lot of times people would do it the other way, but I didn't really, I feel like I just preferred it with this way that you can see here. You can see that seam in the middle. I preferred it with that way facing out. Now, this does make it more even looking in the strap because I do end up going up this side of the strap again. So basically I'm just going around like the strap doing a single crochet. And then when you get back to that inner corner, you're just like going around. You're just going around everything in a single crochet, joining everything, adding like nice edges to everything. And you can follow along as much as you need to. And here I'm coming to another inner corner, but this time I'm ending it. And then here I'm coming to the end. I'm just gonna, at first I do a single crochet, but then I'm gonna end up doing a slip stitch. You wanna end with a slip stitch. And here is the slip stitch. So you're gonna cut that yarn, pull through. Basically, you just went over that top section right there. You went around one side and then around the other side. And there's me like worrying about the seam. So now is where it matters more to decide which side you want facing out. Here's where like you're making the decision. Either way, you have to face them like wrong sides together or right sides together. Like you have to, it's basically gonna be flipped out the other way at the end. But it also depends, do you want these side seams, do you like the way that they look right now, or would you rather have it the other way? And then I'm just joining with like, I should have done a slip stitch here to start off with, but like I ended up like just doing a single crochet. So then again, I don't think I'm gonna talk for this, but like you just go around in a single crochet. You can follow along if it's confusing or if you need help, like just follow along and basically copy what I'm doing. You can see the difference between one side and the other side. I ended up picking this way. I liked it with this way facing on the outside more. And then before I get to this last side here, I'm gonna show you like something else I did that like helped even more. This right here, I did like a simple, like I weaved like some yarn through just to figure out like exactly where I need to be, because here is where it matters because you're doing the final part. And I think I was like off a little bit. So this really helped to just weave in like a simple like thread through. Just to figure out like line it up exactly and figure out like exactly where I need to be. This just really helped me because it's like a long ways away and you're trying to line up each panel with each other. So that helped me to make sure I was keeping with each single crochet. Making sure, because then at the end you can just pull the thread through and you'll see like how it helped so much. So basically here, you're reaching the end, but you're gonna go up around the strap and then back around that, like, the top of that front panel. And I don't think I film that much more of crocheting, but I ended up going over the top of the panels again. The top of the panels being like where the opening is. I ended up going over them at least one more time with a row of single crochet, but that was after I actually added the lining to the bag. And I didn't end up filming making the lining because I was trying to finish this bag for like an event that we were going to, and like I was running out of time, so I was panicking a little bit. But here you can see, like, this is what ended up being like the outside for me, and then here is the inside. But you can flip it around with what way you want it to be. And then this is my lining. It took a lot of trial and error, but I ended up making it. I made it out of an old skirt. There's a lot of like tutorials, I'm sure, on how to make this type of thing. I could even do a tutorial, like if you made it to the end of this and you want this type of tutorial, like let me know and I can do that. I could even do another tutorial of this bag if this how-to was confusing, or like if you need some more help, like I can do another tutorial because this is my first tutorial ever. But yeah, here's me like putting it in, and you can see like it added structure to the bag. Without the lining, this bag like wouldn't work. You do need a lining, you need a zipper. At the very least, you need a zipper. In general, I would not want a crochet bag that didn't have a lining because I would be worried about stuff falling through the holes. But yeah, here's the finished product. Let me know if you have any, like, if there's anything that's confusing, or if you have any helpful, like, critiques on how I can do better with tutorials. Any feedback, let me know if you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, anything helps.